Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turned out a poem 506, He Touched Me, So I Live to Know. Now, this is a poem which, when first published in the New England Quarterly of number 20 of 1947, it created a lot of questions about who is the he of this poem. We could make the argument this is another one of our master poems, that is to say possibly Sam Boyle's, poems 211, 249, 368. Do you guys remember when we did 493? She said it this way: the world stands solemner to me since I was wed to him. A modesty befits the soul that bears another's name. A doubt, if it be fair indeed to wear that perfect pearl, the man upon the woman binds to clasp her soul for all. A prayer that it more angel prove, a whiter gift within to that munificence that chose so unadorned a queen, a gratitude that such be true. It had esteemed the dream too beautiful for shape to prove or posture to redeem. Now, our assumption is that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net down that left-hand side, chats with Emily as our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 505 poems. We just finished with 505. I would not paint a picture. Here, Emily imagines a marriage with the master, or whoever, right? And maybe the post-sexual passion that would be a part of this. Now, one scholar has pointed out that these opening lines are, quote, an adolescent's almost gushing gait. You can decide as we read it. He touched me, so I lived to know that such a day permitted so. I groped upon his breast, it was a boundless place to me, and silenced as the awful sea puts minor streams to rest. And now, I'm different from before, as if I breathed superior air, brushed a royal gown, my feet too that had wandered so, my gypsy face transfigured now to tenderer renown. Into this port, if I might come, Rebecca to Jerusalem would not so ravished turn, nor Persian baffled at her shrine lift such a crucifixal sign to her imperial son. You'll remember the imperial son of referencing Sam Boyle's from poem 106, and you'll remember from poem 322, lines 23 and 24, about the exchanging of crucifixes in that poem. Now, notice here that we don't know who the he is. And again, this could be a person, it could be maybe just an idea of what it's like to be transfigured, the key word of the poem. He touched me, so I live to know that such a day permitted so. In other words, it's obviously enthusiastic, it's exciting, right? I groped upon his breast. Grope takes us back to poem 419. It was a boundless place to me, silence as the awful sea. You'll remember awful from the preceding 505 poem, a privilege so awful. And now, notice the transition, the transfiguration, if you will. I'm different from before as I breathe superior air. In other words, something is fundamentally changed, or brushed a royal gown. Again, in the previous 493, you'll remember it was the whiter gown, right? My feet too that had wandered so, my gypsy face, you'll remember gypsy from 163, transfigured now. Now, I think there's a couple of biblical passages here that are informing our reading of this poem. One is, of course, the transfiguration of Christ of Matthew 17 to tenderer renown. In other words, I'm fundamentally changed. I have a different kind of understanding of, here, even renown. Into this port, if I might come, Rebecca to Jerusalem takes us back to our study of Genesis 24, 63 to 65. You'll remember that Rebecca is brought to Isaac and the marriage with Isaac. Rebecca to Jerusalem would not so ravished turn. It's an interesting use of the word ravished. Nor Persian baffled at her shrine lift such a crucifixal sign. In other words, the Persian woman waiting so long for the arrival of her lover lift such a crucifixal sign to her imperial son. Again, go back to poem 106. And the idea of Sam Boyle's there. What are we going to do with a poem like this in terms of messaging it to a? I think our argument is that some experiences change you forever, and you're never the same again. You are transfigured, if you will. Again, at 2b, who is the he of the poem? Some will argue it's Sam Boyle's. I'll leave it to you guys to decide. At 3a, obviously the biblical text referencing here, I think, is intentional, of Matthew 17 or Genesis 24. Finally, to own a poem like this, what was an experience in your life that you had that transfigured you in some way? And is it possible your study of the poetry of Emily is doing that? I hope so. Thank you.